Hey everyone, this is Daniel.
And this is Jun.
And we are
Korean
American. Hey Jun.
Hi, Daniel.
What is a robot's favorite food?
A robot's favorite food?
Mm-hmm.
Batteries.
Bibimbap. Good one, right?
It's a good one.
Jun, there were two friends.
Yeah.
One was named Ming and the other one was named Mong.
Okay.
One day Mong had to go away. What did Ming say?
What did Ming say? I don't know. Bye
Don't
bye.
go, Mong. You've never heard these before?
No, these are very, I don't know.
Hilarious.
Very hilarious.
I think you're looking for the word hilarious.
I've never heard these.
I have infinite. We call them Korean American jokes.
Korean American jokes.
Infinite.
Wow. Just tell me just one more.
One more?
I want to get it.
Oh, I mean, okay, let me. All right, this one you'll probably guess, Jun.
Yep.
What do you call a cute guy with no ears?
귀엽다.
Yeah. Okay, you finally got one. So,
Yay.
yeah, my Korean American friends would just share these kinds of jokes nonstop, right? There's so many, and we would make them up all the time. And I always found them hilarious. But when I moved to Korea, I would sometimes share these jokes or these kinds of jokes with Korean people, and they don't find me funny at all. They're just like looking at me like, that's not right, or is that supposed to be funny? Should I be laughing?
Yeah.
So Jun, today I wanted to talk about humor.
I want to defend your audience, or I want to defend you. I think it's funny. I think some jokes are funny because they're not funny. Do you know what I mean?
They're so not funny
that it's funny.
Yeah. So this genre of jokes is called dad jokes.
Yeah. And in Korean, they're called 아재 개그.
Yeah. But okay, that's a recent thing, right? That this 아재 개그, like Korean dad jokes, are becoming popular, right?
Yeah, they're becoming popular.
Yeah. In the past just couple years, right?
Yeah. In an ironic way.
Ironic way.
It's funny because it's not funny.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that whole genre of humor, like it's funny because it's not funny, it's been around, and I mean that is like almost a staple of American humor.
Really?
So it's so bad it's good.
I think they just picked up here in Korea because like the real 아재s back in the days, like humor just didn't exist back in the days.
Yeah.
And now it's the first time in Korea where there has been humor before, but now it moved on to a different generation. And the new generation is making fun of the old generation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's the definition of dad jokes, right?
Yeah, but before that, humor just didn't exist in Korea.
For my parents' generation.
Yeah.
So they had nothing to make fun of.
Yeah.
Sorry, can you actually break down what does 아재 개그 mean?
Oh, so 아재 in Korean is short for 아저씨.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Like an old man.
Yeah.
Like dad, right? But you wouldn't call your dad an 아저씨. It's a old man that is
old
not,
man joke, yeah.
Not your
Got
parent. And then 개그 comes from the word gag.
Like gag humor?
Yeah.
Okay.
But for some reason, gag in Korea, it's used as the same word as comedy.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not a genre of humor. It is humor.
It is humor.
Okay.
For instance, in Korea, we don't call them comedians.
Yeah.
We call them 개그mans.
Oh, yeah.
It's like gag man.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. In America, gag humor is kind of like you're just trying to prank them, right? So do you know what a whoopee cushion is?
Yes.
Okay. That would be the most classic like gag humor. You put a whoopee cushion underneath someone's chair in school. They sit on it, makes a fart sound. You record it. Haha.
Yeah. Speaking of comedy, I've just been to a stand-up show in Korea, which is a very new trend in Korea in the Korean comedy scene because for the longest time, stand-up wasn't a thing in Korea. And now it's becoming a thing.
Yeah.
There's this comedian association called Meta Comedies, and they're just a group of comedians. I think they primarily do a lot of stand-up. And I think they do a lot of YouTubes as well. And one of the most famous YouTube shows that came out from Meta Comedies is the one called 피식 Show.
Oh, yeah. You told me about this.
피식.
They came out from that.
Yeah. They are very, very huge these days.
Yeah. I would say for the American audience, not that I've watched a full episode of Pisik,
Yeah.
but I think it's similar to something like Barstool Sports or something like that. You just have a group of guys talking and they're humorous. They invite guests.
Yeah. But I guess the the whole structure of it is that they're simulating an American talk show in a very sarcastic way.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
They're making fun of American talk shows.
So it's primarily for the Korean audience, but for some reason they use English.
Well, yeah, because Koreans find that funny. Right?
There are three hosts, and so the main host, I think he uses pure 100% English, and then the middle one he used half and half, and then the last one doesn't even try to use English. But yeah, they're trying to simulate an American talk show in a sarcastic way.
Yeah. Jun, I think the fact that they speak English, I completely understand why this is funny to Koreans.
Yeah.
Because I think one rule of humor is that you can always make fun of yourself, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And I think, Koreans as a country have this collective trauma around speaking English, speaking it well, being embarrassed of their English. So they just kind of put it front and center and say we don't speak English well. It's okay to laugh.
Yeah.
But Jun, you said this whole stand-up comedy, it's new to the Korean comedy scene. What is the Korean comedy scene? Because apart from variety shows, I don't know what Koreans find funny or what Korean comedy is like. Like, K-dramas. They're mellows, they're romances, right?
Yeah.
They're action, thriller, suspense. I can't think of a single Korean drama that is focused on humor. I can't think of a movie that's focused on humor, right? So yeah, I'm very ignorant of Korean comedy in general.
So I don't want to go into the deep history of Korean comedy because I don't know a lot of Korean comedy history. But as far as I know, for a very long time, starting from I think mid to late 90s up until like 2020 or something, 2019.
Yeah.
The standard of Korean comedy came out from this show called 개그콘서트, as in Gag Concert.
Oh, okay.
It was a TV show.
Yeah.
And it was for, I guess, a good 20 years or so. I think it was the golden ages of Korean comedy coming from 개그콘서트.
Okay.
And they're from the broadcasting network called KBS, which is the national broadcasting network in Korea. And I don't know if they do this in the American broadcasting networks, but they're basically three big Korean broadcasting companies, which is KBS, which is the national one, public national one, and then NBC, and then SBS as in the Seoul broadcasting system or whatever. All these broadcasting networks, they recruit a bunch of different actors, comedians, the same way that they would recruit employees in a company. And so they have so-called 기수, as in like in college, class of 2019, 2018 or whatever.
What do you mean 기수? Like the class of, the recruiting class of that year.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
So it's the same way that they recruit actors and actresses. They would recruit announcers. They would recruit comedians as well. Comedians that are recruited from the KBS system, they all have a chance to perform in this TV show called Gag Concert.
Got it. Do each of these Korean broadcasting networks copy each other? So once one got the whole, comedy thing, did the others follow suit?
Yeah, exactly.
And they created like comedy wars, basically.
Yeah, so once Gag Concert was very popular, I think SBS, they came up with a similar one called 우차사, which was also popular at one point.
Yeah.
Anyways, there's a very specific format for this TV show. I think in Korea, they call it 꽁트.
Okay.
I think it's French. 꽁트.
Yeah.
And I researched a little bit what this meant.
Yeah, what does it mean?
I think the meaning of 꽁트 is a very short novel.
Okay.
And in Korean comedy, I think it translates into like a very short situational comedy. So they set up a situation and they like act upon it, and it's very short.
Yeah, it's a comedy skit in the US.
It is.
It would just be a skit, like a 5-minute situation that's funny. Okay.
I think something that is the closest in American comedy, I think it's Saturday Night Live.
Yes, I was gonna say SNL is entirely based on these, comedy skits.
Yeah. The same way that they do in SNL. They used to perform in front of a public audience, which in Korean they call it 공개 코미디. For a long time, it was standard of Korean comedy. But as time passes and like the trends of comedy has changed these days, I think the TV show became very unpopular at some point, and they closed the show.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
I mean SNL is still going strong.
Really? Yeah, in Korea too right now.
Yeah.
But for some reason, 개그콘서트, I think their style of comedy was kind of outdated.
Interesting.
Yeah. All comedians, they all looked up to get onto that show.
Yeah, growing up, that was their goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at one point, it disappeared.
Yeah. So what are they to do now?
So now they turn to YouTube and stand up.
Okay,
I think that's what's making the new comedy scene right now.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I got to learn a little bit about Korean stand up.
Okay.
And I think if you go back to history of the current trend of Korean stand up, you get to know this guy called Danny Cho.
Okay.
I think he's Korean American.
Huh.
Yeah. And he came to Korea to, I think, implement the stand-up culture.
Wow.
Because he's been doing stand-up comedy in LA for like 20 or 30 years.
Yeah.
And then he came to Korea to like create this culture.
Yeah, I know the comedy culture in LA is huge,
Yeah.
of course. I remember going to a show at, I think, Laugh Factory. It's awesome. I love kind of live comedy shows.
Yeah. And I think the current trend of stand-up comedy in Korea is very timely with YouTube and short-form videos because I think it's like perfect for that format.
Yeah.
Because they're very short stories, right?
Agreed.
And I think a lot of people got into Korean stand-up comedy by watching these so-called shorts or reels. And yeah, I've never laughed harder in my life.
Well, that's awesome, Jun. Welcome to stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
And actually, this one, I believe, were the jokes in English or were they in Korean?
100% in Korean.
Yeah, I'm not going to be able to enjoy it, I think. So I would say in America, a lot of stand-up focuses on making fun of yourself, but also making fun of, our differences. And of course, America's so diverse. A lot of the jokes are, have a racial overtone or whatever. And it's funny, right? You can stereotype different races. Does that translate to Korean comedy? So what is Korean comedy or stand-up comedy in Korea usually making fun of?
From what I experienced last week watching Korean stand-ups, I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to test the line of sexual comedy a lot. Because for a very long time, that kind of topic in comedy was considered taboo.
Yeah.
So they're trying to challenge that. So a lot of their jokes are very, very sexual.
Yeah, okay. I mean, America too, but it's kind of normalized in America.
Yeah.
I could see in Korea that being very shocking. Yeah.
I think the comedians, while they're actually doing the joke, they're feeling some sort of catharsis.
Yeah. Yeah. They can finally talk about it. Yeah. I think it's good for the audience too. And everyone can probably relate to it, right?
Yeah.
The sexual, whatever, like pent up, you can't talk about it, the stigma around it. Yeah.
Oh, the most important thing is that they had an opening person that had to tell a disclaimer to the audience.
Okay.
That it's going to be very sexual.
And
there are going to be a lot of things that could make you uncomfortable, but this is what it is. So don't be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
If you're uncomfortable, just get out.
Yeah, got it. Cool. Jun, what is an example of a very famous or classic Korean comedy movie?
A Korean comedy movie. I think the most recent one that was very popular was this movie called 극한 직업.
Uh-huh.
I think it's about a story of detectives running a chicken shop.
Yeah.
To be undercover.
Okay. It does sound funny.
Yeah, it is one of the most popular, successful movies in Korean movie history.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing about comedy is that it doesn't really translate into different cultures, right? So I doubt that you would find it funny.
Have you ever tried to watch an American comedy movie?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Do you find them funny?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I think the reason that American comedy translates to places around the world because American culture is so international. It's culturally normalized throughout the globe.
Yeah.
Like Korean people find like Friends funny.
Yeah.
Like Big Bang Theory funny.
Yeah.
And I even watch American stand-ups like I don't know, Jimmy O, Louis C.K.
Jimmy O Yang, yeah. Louis C.K.
They're all very funny. I think if they had subtitles, Korean people would find it funny as well.
Ooh, opportunity.
Yeah.
Jun, have you ever heard like Chris Rock, Ronnie Chang?
Yes.
Yeah, Chris Rock's my favorite. He's
Really?
hilarious. Yeah.
Isn't he the guy that got slapped by Will Smith?
Yeah. I think, growing up Asian American, there were a lot of Asian American comedians. Bobby Lee, Margaret Cho, these come to mind. Growing up though, there was a bit of weird internalized everyone's laughing at the Asian person making fun of themselves and should I feel bad laughing along? I think nowadays, like you said, Jimmy O Yang, Ronnie Chiang, even Ken Jeong, Ali Wong, right? I don't feel the same. And I think that's awesome for kind of Asian American comedy, at least. So I don't know where I'm going with this, but there is a history of Asian American comedians making it in the US. But yeah, I would say before I felt a little weird laughing along because I knew a lot of it was playing into racial stereotypes or whatever. But now I would say these are just, funny people who happen to be Asian rather than Asian American comedians, if that makes sense. So anyway, I'm excited to see how the Korean comedy scene and culture develops.
Yeah.
Jun.
Yes.
In my understanding, a staple of Korean humor or comedy is the stereotypical Korean variety show.
Variety show, yes.
So let me do my best to try to set up and explain it for people. These variety shows have a set of hosts who, are famous or become famous. And oftentimes they'll invite other famous people to their show. And then they just do things with them that are maybe embarrassing or uncomfortable. And then they just provide a lot of commentary on what's happening. But also the show itself, right? They'll put like words on screen. They'll replay the same scene 4 ways, like in slow-mo, and have each host react to it in a certain way. But this to me is your very typical Korean variety show. And, I've seen my in-laws watch it. My friends watch it. I've never been able to get into them. So maybe you could explain, if you enjoy them, why you think they're funny, and just, how it's evolving maybe. I don't know. Talk about Korean variety shows.
I think Korean variety shows have their trends as well. I think the current trend of Korean variety shows are the so-called 관찰 예능, where they have like a celebrity and they put a lot of like hidden cameras all around their house and they just observe what they do.
Okay.
That's the trend. And then there will be commentaries, right?
Yeah, the host comments on what they're doing, right? Okay.
But it's not... There are a lot of different formats of Korean 예능. For instance, I would say the most popular Korean 예능 in Korean 예능 history was this show called 무한도전. I think in English it was called Infinite Challenge or whatever.
Okay.
I think there were like 5 or 6 members. Every week they would come up with a different theme or a challenge that they would do. Something seemingly impossible, and they just try to do it.
Yeah.
Like they train for ballroom dancing or whatever, and they actually go compete in the professional ballroom dancing competition and show the process of doing that, but in a very funny way. Those kind of formats of having a group of people, or usually comedians or celebrities, as a team and doing something together was very popular. There's another one that was called 1박 2일, where these comedians would go to random places in Korea and just sleep out for one day, but do different small games and challenges. Yeah. So there are trends. What I'm trying to say is that there's not one fixed format of a Korean 예능.
Got it.
Yeah.
But one common thread seems to be you always have a set of hosts that are commenting on what's happening. Yeah. What do you think about that?
For instance, 1박 2일 or 무한도전, they didn't have commenting.
Okay.
So it's just, I think a current trend.
Yeah. It's interesting. Maybe I'm not that in touch with the American comedy scene, but I don't know what the trends are at all, right? And if anything, I think these Korean formats would be successful in the US. So someone just needs to bring them over there. Yeah.
What I heard is that there are 2 major, I guess, zeitgeists of comedy in the world. One is the American one and one is the Japanese one.
Oh.
And I think I don't think there's a very Korean root of comedy. It's either something that came from Japan or something that comes from the US. And I think 예능 or variety show in Japanese, I think it's called 예능, and that's what they call it in Korean.
Got it.
A lot of them comes from Japan, the format and all. All the subtitles in Korean variety shows?
Yeah.
Like almost word by word, they always have like very colorful subtitles.
Yes, yeah.
I think that definitely comes from Japanese shows.
Interesting. Let's see. Jun.
Yes.
I have a story. So my parents were visiting me at my work, and my manager comes up to them and says, "Oh, Mr. and Mrs. Kim, right? Like, oh, something around, oh yeah, you must be so proud of your son Daniel. Yeah, but around here, no one really likes him." And my parents were like, really like, excuse me? And he was like, "Oh yeah, like no one likes him around here, right?" And, he was being sarcastic, right? Of course. But my parents really didn't understand. And, we went to eat lunch together after. He was like, "Daniel, are you okay? Like, are you, Do you hate your boss? Does he hate you? Are you in trouble?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, no, he was just being sarcastic. And my parents, I think, knew what sarcasm was by definition, right?
Yeah.
Like the dictionary definition.
But they didn't find it funny.
That might have been the first time they actually were presented with sarcasm so upfront.
Yeah.
But at that point, I realized, oh, wow, sarcasm really is not a thing in Korean culture.
Yeah.
Is that true still today? Is it becoming a thing?
I wish I would have been there. Not to see your parents' reaction, but to see your boss's reaction from your parents' reaction. Because probably they didn't laugh at all.
Yeah, but it also just went over his head, I think. I don't think he realized they weren't getting it.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Sarcasm. Yeah, I don't think people... I don't even know. I'm pretty sure there's a word for sarcasm in Korea, but I don't know what it is. It doesn't come to mind. Yeah, what is sarcasm? Yeah.
In my mind, when I think of humor, one of the big zeitgeist or categories is British humor, which is known to be really dry, really sarcastic, really dark.
Yeah.
Right? Like they talk about things that just are super taboo, or they'll say things that are like make you really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But so uncomfortable you laugh or think it's funny. Is this a thing in Korea? And if not, yeah, why not?
Now that you mention it, there is a concept of sarcasm in Korea, but I think it's usually used to be offensive in a passive aggressive way, not to be funny. Yeah. Sometimes I think people can get sarcastic in like Kakao Talk messages.
Yeah.
When they're saying something mean.
Yeah.
But put the smiley face in the end.
Oh, at the end.
Yeah. That's like sarcasm, passive aggressive sarcasm.
Got it. Another big genre of comedy in the US is what I would call slapstick humor.
Yeah.
It's like people just doing stunts, hurting themselves, just like doing silly things to get a laugh out of you.
I think slapstick has been a very huge part of Korean comedy. Even the variety show that I mentioned that was very popular, 무한도전.
Yeah.
Slapstick was a very huge part of it.
Oh, okay.
But I think for some reason nowadays slapstick comedy is, I think in my opinion, in the comedy scene, considered as like a lower level of comedy.
Yeah.
They don't think it's very high level.
Yeah, I think that's probably true in America too.
Yeah.
And personally, I've never gotten it, right? I always prefer like the clever, witty humor more. But I mean, my friends love it. And I would laugh along, right? Like, ha, 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 Elf, so funny.
Yeah.
Who doesn't like Elf? Or like Zoolander. Like, how can you not love Zoolander?
Yeah.
But I have a confession. I never thought these were that funny. It's more funny laughing with other people about it.
Yeah.
If I were to watch it on my own, I don't actually get it. Like Anchorman, sorry, I'm not a Will Ferrell guy.
I realize in Korea, old people tend to react more to slapstick humor. Another huge part of Korean comedy comes from sitcoms.
Ah, yes.
And I don't know if you recognize any of these Korean sitcoms, but one of the most popular ones was called 순풍산부인과.
That does sound familiar,
Yeah.
but I never got into these reality shows, sitcoms.
Yeah. Or 거침없이 하이킥 was another popular one.
No, doesn't ring a bell.
Okay, this was semi-popular in Korea, but I think it's very interesting to our audience. There was one Korean sitcom where the setup was they're living in LA, Koreatown.
Oh.
So it was about Korean American families. It was called LA 아리랑.
Never heard of it.
You never heard of it?
No.
It's pretty old. I think it's from the 90s.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I would know 90s more than modern, I think. Korean
so you've
stuff.
never heard of LA 아리랑?
Yeah, but I didn't grow up like that deeply immersed in Korean culture. So
Probably your parents might know.
they're not the type to... I will ask, though.
I can imagine Korean American people being excited about this show because it was about their lives.
Yeah. I really like... This is why, like, Margaret Cho, for example... To be clear, I didn't really watch her growing up because it was always on cable and I didn't have cable TV growing up.
Yeah.
But when I first heard her comedy, it was like the first time I was like, oh, wow, this person's making fun of my lived experience, right? So maybe I'll have a similar reaction to that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
There are Asian sitcoms now. The one that comes to mind is Kim's Convenience.
Yeah.
It's about Canadian Koreans. But yeah, I love that show. Like, I feel like it really gets to me. Yeah.
I've mentioned before, but American sitcoms were pretty popular in Korea. I think a lot of Korean people learned English from Friends.
Yeah, I know Friends was huge here, right?
Yeah. The Office was, I think, pretty popular.
Which is funny because The Office is an American adaptation of a British show.
Yeah. Big Bang Theory. What else? I don't know. It was never mainstream,
Yeah.
but a lot of people definitely watched Friends.
Was Seinfeld popular here?
I don't think so.
Seinfeld was always like, if Friends was 1A as like popular sitcoms or shows in the US,
Yeah.
Seinfeld was like 1B. I think those two are like very iconic.
Interesting. Who was your favorite Friends character?
Chandler is who I found the most funny. Yeah, I always thought he was the funniest character. Yeah. I'm sure you're analyzing me now like, oh, this means you like that or whatever.
I also want to mention a lot of humor these days, they come from the internet. The so-called 짤 in Korean, which translates to meme.
Meme humor.
Yeah.
I think the same in the US too. I think just like in Korea, the shorts or reels, I think those are quite popular and you can go down a rabbit hole as well. But I'd say, my favorite humor is still just stand-up routines. I love watching them. I'm really hoping that if there were ever like a stand-up show in Korea in English, I would love to attend. Yeah.
Oh, I also want to mention, this is totally random, but I think a huge part of Korean comedy or Korean humor, there was a very famous book in the early 90s called the 최불암 series.
Okay.
Our audience probably might recognize how old I am by referencing this book. But 최불암 was...
What's it stand for, Jun?
It's a name.
Oh, it's a name.
It's a name of this very famous actor in Korea. It's like, when something or someone is so popular amongst majority of the population in Korea, they put the prefix 국민 and like, what's 국민? Like national or something, right?
Yeah.
He was considered as 국민 배우, which means like national actor.
Yeah.
As in like everyone likes him.
Okay.
He could be called as like the Clint Eastwood of Korea.
As an actor, not as a comedian. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He's not a comedian, by the way.
Okay.
He's a very serious actor.
Yeah.
So I'll talk about the book. This book is just a collection of very short stories about 최불암 doing things.
Okay.
But it's like very short, kind of like, I don't know. 최불암 went to the grocery store one day and then he did this and then he did that. And it was very short, funny.
Are they made up or are they
They're all made up.
Oh, okay.
And I think the point now, looking back, the point why it was so funny because 최불암 himself is not a funny person.
Yeah.
He's a very serious actor.
But that's what made it funny.
I think so.
Putting a serious person in these funny situations is funny. Okay.
And for a long time in the 90s, like Korean humor revolved around the 최불암 series.
I see. Okay. Jun, another question.
Yes.
Do you know what a pun is?
I know what a pun is.
Someone told me once that Korean wordplay, it's a little different than puns. Like, what is the Korean word for Korean wordplay? And then how is, maybe an example or how is it used? Because I remember being surprised, like, oh, that's actually a little different than in America.
I don't know if there's a word for wordplay specifically.
말놀이?
There is a word called 말장난, but it has a bit of a negative connotation than wordplay.
Oh, could you explain though?
말장난?
Yeah.
I would use 말장난 not as a funny thing. It's like if we're in an argument and you like pick on you pick on a specific word that I said and then
that's
whatever,
not it.
and I would say like 너 말장난하지 마.
Oh, okay, that's not what I'm going for.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think a huge chunk of 아재 개그 or dad jokes in Korea, they're all word plays.
Yeah, got it. Well, one of my son's favorite books is a gift I got, which was a book of best dad jokes. And my son finds them hilarious. Just he tells me them nonstop, and he's like, "Oh, this is funny because this means this and this means that." My daughter, on the other hand, and she is younger, but she reads the jokes, and her reaction is like, "This is not funny. Why is this funny?" And maybe she doesn't understand yet, or maybe she just doesn't think it's funny. So I think comedy in general, it's very nuanced, and everyone, just like I don't like slapstick humor. I'm not a huge Will Ferrell guy. Different types of humor will appeal to different people. While comedy itself feels universal, the different flavors feel very kind of unique and individualized.
Interesting.
But it's interesting in Korea, though, because as a nation, it's a very collective nation, right?
Yeah.
So it's almost like I expect the one kind of humor to be funny to everyone, right? Just like you said, there's these trends you see in Korean humor. And again, I'm not plugged into like the American humor scene, comedy scene. But I could not do that for American humor. It just seems like there's all these different flavors, different people like different ones. And to each their own, right? But yeah, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just not knowledgeable.
Speaking of dad jokes, I just Googled several
Hit me.
And I think you would like them. Because they're kind of Korean American in a weird way.
Oh, okay. We'll see if I can even understand them.
But I have to tell this in Korean for it to be funny.
Let's do it in Korean and then we'll translate.
할아버지가 좋아하는 돈이 뭔지 알아? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you said what type of money is something to grandfathers?
Something that grandfathers like.
Like, yeah. What?
할머니.
Would Koreans understand that?
This is a Korean 아재 개그.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I like that one.
What happens if it rains in the US?
Can you say it in Korean?
미국에서 비가 내리면
뭐?
USB.
Okay, but you got to bring that in. Like, you got to have a computer reference in there, right?
Yes.
It's not funny without the computer reference. It's funny because you're saying a US acronym.
Yeah.
See, this is what I mean. I think Koreans think anything American is funny.
Maybe.
Actually, this is probably why Konglish jokes work. Why Korean Americans find them funny, but Koreans don't. Because the only reason it's funny is because you're using a Korean word.
Mm.
And again, for Korean Americans, they think that's funny.
Yeah.
It's slightly foreign, but relatable.
Yeah.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah. It's the complete opposite of your Korean American jokes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, hit me with one more.
I have to find something that's... Okay. I have to say this in Korean.
Okay, say it in Korean, then we'll translate.
잘생긴 가위는
Okay, what's a good-looking scissor? 잘생긴 가위는 몰라.
handsome guy.
I don't get it.
Like handsome guy?
I know handsome guy.
As
What's
in
the
like
Korean?
handsome 가위.
Handsome 가위?
가위.
Handsome guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, one last one.
All right.
I think I can tell this in English.
No. Tell it in Korean, then we'll translate.
Okay. 우주인들이 술 마시는 곳은
Okay, I only understood the drinking alcohol. You got to translate.
where the astronauts go to drink.
Oh, I know this. Blue Moon.
No.
Okay.
Space bar.
Space. Oh.
You get it?
Well, I get it because it's a bar in space, but
Yeah.
is it because the space bar is funny?
Space bar in
So
your keyboard.
all Koreans will know what a space bar is.
Yeah. Wait, you don't call this a space bar?
We do.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have anything to do with astronauts.
I know. It's just pure
I get it.
wordplay.
This is what I'm saying. Anytime you use an English word, Koreans will laugh. Anytime you use a Korean word, Korean Americans will laugh. I think this is the conclusion.
We found out something very interesting through our episode today. Awesome.
Okay, that's it for this week. Thank you everyone for listening.
Please follow us on social media. We are uploading weekly posts on our Instagram account called Korean American Podcast.
And we are planning to release these on YouTube as well from now on. We heard that's a good thing to do.
Okay, we already said it, so no going back.
I can edit it out, Jun. But yeah, let us know how we're doing.
Yeah.
And if you have any thoughts after hearing any of our episodes, please comment and start a discussion. If you have any proposals for Jun, I think we should start using our Instagram more. Maybe we'll start doing polls or whatever to try to get
good.
ideas.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, keep an eye out if you want to stay tuned with updates or participate, maybe voting for future topics, etc. Follow us on Instagram. And yeah, we hope to see you next week.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Wait, how are we going to open?
You want me to tell you a joke?
Do you have one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have infinite. We can
do the Korean American
Yeah,
joke.
we'll record many different Korean American jokes.
But you told me so many. What if I know this one?
I have new ones too.
Oh.
Yeah. Wait.
How long was this?
Jun, I'm not done with the outro music. Yeah, guess how long it was.
45.
Oh my god, exactly correct.
Oh.
45, 30, yeah. Perfect.